Hey everybody, Professor Benelou here with the third of 3 videos explaining Unit 2 discussion board. In this video, I'm going to be going over the last 3 topics so you can go over in Unit 2 discussion board, And remember, just choose one and you have to analyze the primary document from the topic list. Okay, so women's rights movement. The primary document here is the founding document for the National Organization of Women. It is an organization that is still around today, fighting for women's rights. Okay, so the background of the National Organization of Women. It was formed in 1966, and this is when this document was created. It was inspired by the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to fight for equality for women. Founding members of now include Dr. Pauli Murray and Betty Friedan. Murray was a Yale law professor who was also a member of the President's Committee on the Status of Women, and Friedan famously wrote her 1963 book, Feminine Mystique. Remember, the civil rights movement inspired many rights for equality, movements for equality, including the women's rights movement, the gay rights movement, the Chicano rights movement, in the Native American rights movement. Just incredible. So anyway, Friedan again was famous for a 1963 book, The Feminine Mystique. I personally think all women should read this book. It's an incredible book. Friedan had surveyed women she had graduated with from Smith College, and in her surveying she found that women in general weren't happy being housewives and stay-at-home moms like society would have led you to believe at that time. So she wrote these findings in her famous book, The Feminine Mystique. And she found that most of the housewives that she spoke to felt that they were missing something. They were yearning for something more, particularly a career. So she turned her findings into the famous 1963 book, The Feminine Mystique. And one of the findings that totally blew my mind, which I think was totally interesting, is her notion that the stay-at-home wife, stay-at-home mom, takes longer with her household chores than the woman that works outside the home. One of the main flaws with Betty Friedan's Feminine Mystique is it was mainly geared towards white middle-class women, but it did empower women and it did give them the strength to become independent and to leave abusive relationships. That's the important takeaway from her book. Chicano rights movement is the 5th topic you can choose from. The primary document is an interview with Cesar Chavez, and it discusses his work with the United Farm Workers, which is an organization that's still around today fighting for the rights of migrant workers. So what is going on in this article? What you need to really understand is the background of Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez was born in Yuma, Arizona in 1927. He learned a lot about injustice in life early on. His father had been swindled out of land by unscrupulous whites. The Chavez family had to move to California, where he was banned from speaking Spanish in school and suffered from extreme prejudice. After completing 8th grade, Chavez had to drop out of school to help out his family financially because his father had been hurt in an accident. In 1962, Chavez, along with Dolores Huerta, formed the United Farm Workers Organization to help migrant workers achieve better rights. The main purpose of this, again, was fighting for migrant workers. Members of the United Farm Workers went on strike to protect their treatment by California table grape and lettuce growers. And in 1968, Chavez engaged in a 25-day hunger strike. And during that strike, he was visited by Senator Robert F. Kennedy. And years later, when he underwent another hunger strike, he was visited by Kennedy's widow, Ethel Kennedy. But anyway, interesting topic. And again, it's an interview with Chavez. Okay, Black Power movement. This is an opinion piece, the primary document, about the status of the civil rights movement and basically the rise of the Black Panthers and the Black Power movement. There developed a split within the civil rights movement. There were those that wanted to continue to follow Dr. King and were advocating passive resistance. And there were the others on the other end of the spectrum that were saying, look, we've gone down that road long enough. It hasn't worked. We need to be more aggressive in fighting for our rights. The Black Panthers were a huge part of the Black Panther movement. It was a group that was formed in 1966 by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. They were fighting for African American rights, particularly in the realm of police brutality. All right, those are the topics that you can go over. This is the end of the third and final video. I hope these videos have helped. As always, reach out to me through my email address or through the messenger portion of the CTU app and let me know if you have absolutely any questions, and be diligently working on this assignment. All right, everybody, good luck.